Spoke's villain arc has officially started in Unstable SMP, because in Spoke's latest video, we saw that Spoke defeated Jamato P, and he took the enchanted totem from Jamato P, which gave him control of Null, and he became the most powerful player in Unstable SMP. But this isn't the biggest thing that happened, because if Spoke just became what Ashwag said he would at the end of the Mafia arc, and this Null is the Mafia of Spoke, which means that Ashwag is about to return, and then we might see the biggest war in Unstable SMP history, the Mafia of Ashwag versus Null, whose leader is Spoke now. At the time, most people thought Ashwag was just angry because he lost. But looking back now, everything he said is becoming true. Let's start with what happened in Spoke's latest video. Most people thought Underscore was going to reveal the true identity of Null, but instead, he just revealed some of the stuff like the enchanted totem. According to Underscore, whoever controls the enchanted totem controls Null, and Jamato P became the leader of Null by defeating the previous leader and taking the totem for himself. The totem is also the reason Null is so loyal to its leader, because if the totem ever pops, the entire Null army gets sent into the void and dies, which means Null always wants the strongest possible commander. And that's why Underscore was helping Spoke. He believed Spoke was stronger than Jamato P. But while all of this was happening, Spoke was slowly changing. The signs have been there for a long time, because in Purgatory. At first in Purgatory, Spoke was trying to escape and save his friends, but eventually, his goal changed. And we saw that when he started building his army. Instead of simply recruiting players, Spoke started forcing players to choose, join him or die. And then he gave Mapik one of the most shocking orders we've ever heard. He told Mapik to kill anyone who refused to join them. The same Spoke who defeated the Mafia because he believed in freedom was now ordering people to be killed for refusing to join his army. That's exactly the kind of thing Ashwag would have done. But even that wasn't the moment that convinced me. The moment that convinced me happened near the end of the video. When Mapik was stuck there with Jamato P, instead of trying to save him, Spoke used a wind charge on him, which dropped Mapik into the void. We know that Mapik isn't dead though, because below the Nether there is the underworld, and there was no death message that showed up, so he is most likely in the underworld. But that's not the point. The point is that the old Spoke would have tried to save him. This Spoke didn't, and that's why I think Ashwag's prediction is finally coming true. Because the forced recruitment, the order to kill players, and what happened to Mapik, you start seeing a completely different version of Spoke. A version willing to do anything to win. A version obsessed with power. Exactly as Ashwag predicted. But here's where things become terrifying. Because Spoke didn't just build an army. He inherited the strongest army in the history of Unstable SMP, Null. And once you understand how powerful Null actually is, you'll realize why Ashwag's return might be closer than ever. Because Null isn't just another faction. It's the most powerful organization the server has ever seen. And now, Spoke controls all of it. Because I don't think people realize how powerful Null actually is. When most people compare Null to the Mafia, they immediately assume the Mafia was stronger. After all, the Mafia controlled the server from the shadows. They had all players invisible, and enough power to nearly destroy the server. But I think Null is far stronger. Let's start with the scale. The Mafia had dozens of important members. Null has thousands. And that's not an exaggeration. Jamato P himself said that Null has been operating for years. For years they have been secretly watching the server, spying on players, making lists of players, and deciding who should be captured. Think about how insane that is. Capturing a few players is difficult. Capturing hundreds of players would be nearly impossible. But Null has kidnapped tens of thousands of players. And according to Jamato P, they weren't randomly capturing people either. They were specifically targeting players they considered dangerous. Which means Null has probably been watching almost every major player on the server for years. And that's what makes them terrifying. They know what players are doing. And they always know when to strike. Which explains something that never made sense before. How did Null always find hidden players? Because they were already watching for years. And that's scarier than the army itself. But then we get to the army. Null has thousands of soldiers. Thousands of soldiers ready to fight at any moment. And because of their connection to the Far Lands, they effectively have unlimited resources due to exploits. In fact, we still don't even know what some of their technology is capable of. Because somehow, Null managed to clear a massive area of the overworld that was over 10,000 by 10,000 blocks. And we still don't know exactly how they did it. Then there are the stasis chambers. One of the most broken systems we've ever seen. Whenever a Null soldier is about to die, they can instantly teleport away. Imagine Wembu and Flamefrags fighting Null. They could defeat dozens of soldiers, maybe hundreds, but the moment their totem popped, they would just disappear. How do you beat an army that can't be killed? And that's exactly why Null has become so powerful. Players can't hide from Null, players can't run from Null, because somehow, Null always finds a way. Then we have the Totem of Null, one of the most powerful artifacts we've ever seen on the server. According to Underscore, whoever controls the totem controls Null. And if the totem ever pops, the entire Null army gets sent into the void and dies, which means Null will always follow the strongest commander possible. But that's not the only ability the totem has. The totem allows Null to place nether portals almost anywhere, at any coordinate, any location. We literally saw Jamato P create hundreds of portals when Spoke attacked him and popped his totem. Imagine trying to defend your base when portals start opening everywhere, and thousands of soldiers start pouring out of them. That's an invasion. But even then, we still haven't reached the most dangerous part of Null, because we get to the strongest weapon we've ever seen in unstable SMP, the Wither Cannon. A weapon so powerful that it can destroy entire armies, break obsidian, and give players wither effects powerful enough to reduce their health to 0. Nothing we've ever seen comes close to it, not even the orbital strike cannons. And according to Leawook's spies, Jamato P possessed even stronger weapons that we haven't seen yet. And that's exactly why Jamato P kept saying the same thing over and over again. Null is stronger than people realize. And now every single one of those things belongs to Spoke. The same player Ashswag warned about years ago. The same player who ordered Maypick to kill people. The same player who pushed Maypick into the void. The same player who is becoming more ruthless every episode. And that's why I think Ashslag's return isn't just possible anymore, it's inevitable. Because Spoke hasn't just built a Mafia of his own. He's built something even stronger. So if Ashswag really returns, how does he stop Spoke? Because let's be honest, on paper it looks impossible. Spoke now controls Null. So how could Ashslag possibly fight something like that? The answer is simple, because Ashslag has already done this before. You see, most players look at Null and see an army. Ashswag would look at Null and see a system. And nobody understands systems better than Ashswag. Remember, the Mafia wasn't powerful because of its soldiers. The Mafia was powerful because of its structure, the invisible players, and the stasis chambers. Everything worked together. And that's exactly how Null works. The difference is that Null is even bigger, which means it also has weaknesses. And if anyone knows how to find those weaknesses, it's Ashswag, because he spent years building organizations exactly like this. But here's the biggest reason I think Ashswag is returning, because everything he predicted has already happened. Years ago, he warned Spoke that one day he would create a Mafia of his own. And that's exactly what Spoke has done. Look at what he controls now. If that's not a Mafia, then I don't know what is. The only difference is the name. Instead of being called the Mafia, it's called Null. And that's why Ashswag's prediction is so terrifying. Because he wasn't just predicting the future. He understood Spoke better than anyone else. He knew that Spoke's biggest weakness was power. The more power Spoke got, the more he would want. And now, Spoke has more power than anyone in unstable SMP history. But here's where things get really interesting, because I don't think Ashswag returns alone. I think he rebuilds the Mafia. The Mafia may have collapsed, but Ashswag never lost everything. He still has the Tomb of the Mafia, and that tomb contains everything needed to rebuild the organization, resources, and ender pearls belonging to thousands of players on the server. Now, obviously, I don't think every old Mafia member comes back, but the organization itself, that can absolutely return. And it might be the only thing capable of fighting Null, because neither side would fight fairly. Null would try to crush the Mafia with sheer power. The Mafia would try to destroy Null from the inside. And if that happens, the entire server gets dragged into the conflict. Parrot, Wembu, Flame Frags, everyone. Because a war between Null and the Mafia wouldn't just affect them, it would affect the entire server. And honestly, that's why I think Ashswag's return is much closer than people realize. I genuinely think Ashswag returns within the next few episodes, because Spoke has finally become exactly what Ashswag warned about. And if Ashswag's prediction was right about all of that, then maybe he was right about one more thing. Maybe when Spoke finally created a Mafia of his own, Ashswag would come back. I think we're heading toward the biggest conflict in unstable SMP history, the Mafia versus Null. Because for the first time ever, one player controls enough power to challenge the entire server, Spoke. Think about everything he has now. Thousands of Null soldiers, unlimited resources, portal systems, the Wither Cannon, and possibly even stronger weapons we haven't seen yet. No one alone can fight against that, not even Wembu and Flame Frags. Which means if Spoke decides to rule the server, who is actually going to stop him? And that's why I think Ashswag's return is inevitable. Because Ashswag isn't just another player. He's the only person who fully understands what Spoke is becoming. The only player capable of stopping him. The thing is that Ashswag swag isn't good. Spoke isn't completely evil. This isn't heroes versus villains anymore. It's two players who believe they're doing what's best for the server. So let me know what you think. And if you want to know why Wembu needs to return to the Forge, click the video on the screen right now.